I told the audience I happen to be walking past y'all in the hallway here at Sirius, and if I see somebody who look like me, I'm be like, "Hey, how y'all doing?" And y'all was talking to Sway, and then I find out.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I think we might have even seen each other in the rest. I can't remember what it was, but
Yeah, the
basically,
restroom.
yes, yes, yes. I'm
Yes.
telling you, the
Mhm.
SiriusXM meeting spaces are amazing. So I'm really grateful to have y'all here because I actually have some black sands. I remembered when you first came out. I had ordered them for my son who was much younger at the time, and so this was I thought a pretty great opportunity. And so I'm grateful for you guys being with us today. Geiszel, I want to start first with you. Talk to us about your book, Maury's Family Adventures. You both are prolific content creators in spaces where we need even more of this sort of content. Talk to us about this book and why you wanted to bring to this story of the values that you share and love for international travel to those other families who look like you.
So Maury's Family Adventure is inspired by my son, Maury Godoy. He's currently 11 years old. So I
Mm,
wanted to write a book where African American children can see themselves represented positively in books.
yeah.
And we love to travel. When the kids were 3 and 4 years old, their first international trip was Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Mm.
Yes. So we took the kids to Brazil to learn that Brazil is the largest African diaspora in the world.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Outside of Brooklyn, there are more people of African descent there than any other place on the continent of Africa, other than the continent of Africa. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what was it about that travel experience that you thought wasn't just appropriate for your children, but something that should be shared as inspiration for other families too?
Because I think African American African American kids, we don't travel. They don't travel
Mm.
that much abroad. They
Mm,
learn about their roots, their history. In schools, they always are talking about American history, slavery. We get
mm.
tired of seeing that. We want to see the beautiful, rich African history, and we want to experience that ourselves. That's why I decided to travel with the kids abroad, show them different places around the world, and get them immersed in different cultures.
Did it help that you had a military background?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
So in the
yeah,
military, I traveled all over the country, Europe, um, everywhere,
yeah.
everywhere. So, and I was actually stationed in Germany. So that
Okay.
helped a lot. Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I remember graduating high school in Germany. I graduated high school in Hanau, which is not too far outside of Frankfurt.
Yes.
And I remember coming to the States, and we always came to the States to visit because, my mom's family from Jamaica, they had come into New York. My dad's family is from South Carolina and then made their way to New York. And so I remember coming here for college and realizing how weird it was that, like, I had spent my spring break in Moscow, right? Or in St. Petersburg, right? Or we, got on a bus and would go to France or get on a train and go to Spain. And I remember realizing how limited many of us in the United States are when it comes to international travel of any background. There are very few Americans that actually have a passport. And so I one thing I do appreciate about the military, though my family likes to point out the fact that I'm the only one that chose not to serve, is the exposure to international travel and just understanding how the rest of the world is moving. Manuel, I want to turn now to you. The Kids to Kings, Sons of Nibiru. Talk to us about the inspiration that you had that allowed you to birth those two projects.
Yeah, so Kids the King was the original name of Black Sands when it started back in 2016. Now it's just called Black Sands in general. So all the titles that are involved with the ancient Egyptian mythology storyline is Black Sands, and the reason why I made it is because I basically never see African civilizations shown as great, powerful, independent,
Mm,
civilizations. And because of that, I wanted to make it myself, especially since Hollywood seems to do every, 4 or 5 years, they'll spend another $200 million to push propaganda about, British Egyptians,
right.
right? So I was like,
White
I've had enough.
Cleopatras.
Yeah, so I had enough. I wanted to go and do it myself. A lot of people agree with it. And it was just something that was important for young people and older to see ourselves in ancient history and antiquities, right? Not just as superheroes or whatever, but, as actual leaders, actual
Mm,
religious scholars, actual freaking, merchants, just
right.
regular people who do all these amazing things in a great civilization. It's very important. We never see that. All we see is slaves. right? Or warlords, because I guess that's the only thing we could do according to
Mm,
Hollywood. But
mm.
we've been changing that narrative for a long time.
Why? What, there are a lot of us who have recognized there's an absence of material
Yeah.
that treats our stories the way that they should be treated. What was it about that reality that caused you to actually act on it?
Well, I just hate that that's the only propaganda that my kids are going to get, right? It's like if I rely exclusively on the American education system, then
Mm,
all they're going to learn is that they should be proud that they're not slaves, because that's the
right,
most they've ever done, right?
right,
And because of that, they should have no problem working that minimum wage job, while unfortunately, the white kid down the street got a nepotism placement to be his manager. You know what I'm
right,
saying? It's
right.
like we're supposed to accept that because he's second class and he's lucky that he's not a slave anymore. That's what happens when you don't have any history behind you, because there's a reason why they teach us about the Greek scholars and
Mm,
Julius Caesar, a soldier who became the emperor of Rome. And you're like, why they keep teaching you this stuff over and over again? Because they try to teach you that no matter what your background is, no matter if your parents are there or not, if you're white, you can do amazing things.
mm,
Your limit is endless, right? And he
mm.
said, but if you black, you just lucky you ain't a slave anymore. So congratulations.
Talk to us about some of the challenges, particularly for the Black Sands projects, because I understand more about how to get a book, right, a children's book into the ether. I'm kind of we bring on a number of authors for children's books here and books for all ages. So we're a little more clear on that than we are when it comes to the comic book space or some of these alternative, non-traditional book sorts of ventures. Talk to us about some of the challenges that you face bringing that particular project to life.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem we had was just the idea of making it acceptable enough
Mm,
for a family read, right?
mm.
Especially when it comes to schools. So schools, have an immediate reaction to comics that was adverse for a very long time, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, comic, I can't trust that. Must be for adults. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Nowadays, everybody accepts my books as middle school titles and stuff like that, which is great. It gives me the opportunity to get into this classroom. But if you look at middle school titles that are graphic novels from the industry, like Scholastics or something like that, versus middle school versus mine, you'll see like it's completely different vibes,
Mm.
right? And I think the real issue is that Americans are kind of soft, right? Like like we kind of baby our
Wait,
kids, man.
say more. What do you mean by that, Manuel?
We baby the heck out of our kids. I mean, we really do. From an educational standpoint, we baby the heck out of our kids. Like for instance, having a character look like like realistic in any way, shape, or form. Not even doing anything, but just a realistic like body proportions, just realistic, face is like makes it an adult book or adult comic automatically to a lot of people. You're like, he didn't
Yeah.
even do anything yet. He's like, it doesn't matter, just the look of it and the feel of it. I said, look, you gotta put away the Steven Universe graphics
Not Steven
once
catching
they get to
strays.
once they get past fifth grade.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like once they pass fifth grade, that's why they like manga. You think that they like manga just because it's a cool show or that somebody talked about it online? No, it also looks mature enough for their age. Like they're looking and saying, I won't be roasted by my friends for watching that, but I
Right.
will be roasted with my friends for watching Steven Universe, even though Steven Universe is good. You
See,
know,
and then when they become adults, they'll go back to Steven Universe. At least if they're like me, I love Steven Universe, but then I'm not getting roasted by anybody in a middle school playground. So there's that. The graphics are beautiful. I personally love the depictions. That was one of the first things that attracted it to me because I think when we first got our hands on one of the Black Sands products, it was I want to say it was like an online campaign, like an internet campaign, and I was like, oh, that's dope. And I didn't even know. I didn't know. I was like, let me just grab it because at that point, we had a young son, and we wanted to have everything in his hands that he could possibly get that was going to be reaffirming to him. And the idea of black people, some being regular black people or having superpowers, or like I needed him to have that sort of imaginative space opened up for him. But I wanted it not just for his self-esteem, but because if he could, if once we can imagine something being the case, once we can imagine something happening, it opens up the realm of possibilities in ways that a traditional lesson might not. Geiszel, when we're talking about the book that you have that's exposing children to travel, once you plant an idea that something can happen and that something that we don't traditionally see us doing is possible and available to us, it can completely shift our relationship to the entire planet. Talk to us about some of the ways in which you've seen your book do that for audiences and do that for families who perhaps, even if they can't travel themselves, they can take a trip with you in the book.
Yes, so I love it when I got the feedback when parents and teachers bought the book. They was like, "Oh, it felt like I was on the trip with you guys," because you
Yeah.
guys have in the back of the book, there are actual photos of me and my family um, of the trip.
Yeah.
So you can see different pictures of us doing different activities in the book. And it was like, wow, this is really cool. Wow, look at your daughter. She looks like my daughter, with the natural puffs and her beautiful black skin tone. That looks like me. And it gives them it inspires them to travel.
Mm.
So that's yes.
Yeah. For what we're experiencing right now as a community with the attacks on education, the attacks on books, and I don't know if any of y'all have had your books banned. It seems like all you got to do is have somebody darker than the color peach in a book, and then somebody's going to want it to be banned. Going back to Manuel, what you were saying about people being soft as hell. But we're in a time right now where there is a demand, a real yearning for more and more content that's going to be able to help our kids have a balanced and an appropriate view of themselves and see a reflection of themselves doing amazing things. Have you seen any shift in the interest that people are demonstrating for this book in light of this new political reality we find ourselves in?
Well, me personally, maybe it's just a algorithm thing because at the end of the day, we are all, like victims of algorithms, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when they go and use their new AI tool to go and tell us which stuff we should see. Sometimes we're not at the top of the food chain when it comes to that. They love
Right.
pushing politics. So if you talk about politics, you're gonna trend. But if you
Mm.
talk about independent productions or anything else, you might not be able to get into the echo chamber, right? So what I'm seeing, right, is there is a lot of interest once people are aware. Problem
Mm.
is getting people aware in the
Right.
current climate, right? So you have to like bait it by like starting your stories whenever you're talking about comics and stuff by like Trump did this, right? And then
Oh wow!
and
And
go
then
into your story,
breadcrumb your
right?
way. Yeah, back
And
him,
the,
back him into some real
but the
conversation.
good thing is that he's like the gift that keeps on giving because there is no headlines that don't have to do with black people nowadays.
Right.
Seems like he's solely interested on black people, right? So it's making it pretty easy. Me personally, I think it's good that that the greater community is being exposed to the idea of a pure attack on black culture in general,
Mm.
because it does get them to take action more.
Yeah.
With that being said, Black Sands, we're doing an anime right now with a lot of stars. Like we got Michael Jai White, Eddie Griffin, Deborah
Wow.
Wilson, T.C. Carson. We got all these voice actors who are doing an amazing job for our anime right now, and we raised $1.3 million on that
What?
prior
Yes.
to inauguration. All right, so
Oh
this is
wow.
so now, right? We got about 2 weeks left. We're going to be up February 28th. We're at the deadline. And we're hoping we get a lot more people to be aware of this because I think that, if it was something that was aware of, people would be jumping on it like crazy. Not because
Mm.
we want to make a story that has black people in it in ancient times, but also because, our entire community is profit sharing investors. So everybody who invested is going to get a check. As long as
Wow.
we break even, they're going to get their money back, right? But if we
Okay.
feed, they're going to make a lot of money, right? And I just want to cut that check one time in my life where I can be like, there you go. Everybody got a check, right?
Right.
It's like because at the end of the day, we're gonna see a lot of projects going out there that's gonna be like, hey, it's time to exploit this crisis and get some
Mm.
money, right? But all that money is gonna go to the executives at Paramount or the executives at
Right.
Disney, right? It's
Right.
not gonna go to us, right?
Yeah.
It's like that director, that famous black director who does that movie is gonna get that one-time check for small pigeons of what that box office is going to make,
Mm.
right? And they're going to call it a win for us. And what I'm saying is, I want 10,000 black people to get the check, right?
Wow.
And that's what we're doing right now. So
So is this campaign still active, or is it something that
yeah.
people can continue to invest in? Talk to us a little bit about the campaign and what your goal is, where you're at on this, and what the ultimate desire looks like.
Yeah, so we're making an anime that's going to be in the box office probably in the fall, so long as we finish our goal. So if we hit our goal of 2.25 million by the end of February, which is like 2 weeks from now,
Mm.
then we're going to make it. Now, we raised like $1 million in like the first week of the investment round.
Wow.
The problem is though, that was like my entire audience. So what happens is this, right? I'm really good at, like, my audience is super loyal and they know me and everything else. But at the end of the day, you eventually run out, right?
Right.
And getting $1 million from regular people is like really, 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 really hard to do. So I am kind of a, like I said, an algorithm. If I'm not out, if it doesn't let me out of my bubble,
Mm.
and get more people, right?
Right.
But opportunities like this to be able to talk to the world helps a lot. Like I said, we already raised $1.3 million, and we did spend a considerable amount of money already on the production. So we have all the animatics done, which means like the entire episode you can watch from, I mean, the movie you can watch from beginning to end. 97% of the voice acting is all done. We just did a session with Michael Jai White like freaking 2 days ago. So
Wow.
he's done with his voices. He's raw, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
my God. I was gonna ask, what character does he play?
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really in a great position right now. And now all we gotta do is just pay all the animators to go and finish the job, right? And grind through the process because everything's done. So we're looking at that. We're doing amazing things right now. Investors, they get investor cards on top of the fact that they're becoming profit sharing investors.
Mm.
And the deal is 30% of net profits are going to the investors. So that's what happens. So,
Wow.
after we break even, 30% of everything else is going to go to investors, and that's in perpetuity. So however much money a movie
Huh.
makes at the box office or licensing deals later on, for instance, if Netflix wants to show it on Netflix, right, they have to pay for that. They have to pay for that right. You
Huh.
always get your cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?